Shalom. And I want to start off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachach, Chodesh. Double honors to my teachers, dad, apostles, and elders of Great Millstone. And salutations to Akim that's out there listening, pushing forward this word with truth and sincerity. And your few Akwith as well, that's listening with sincerity. Alright, today, I'm just coming back to you guys through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And it's going to be a fairly quick lesson. All right. Also, by the way, I'm the brother Machaya from the camp GMS Montreal. All right. So in this one, it's going to be basically focusing on the fact that, we got to make sure that we're getting our daily reading in. Okay. Daily, you have to be immersed in these scriptures, to at least dive in and read a few chapters, man. All right. So let's get this in the book of Revelation, the first chapter. And in verse 3, it says, "Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand." That's it. Okay, so it says, "Blessed is he that readeth," man. All right, and when you go into that word readeth, it goes into understanding. Okay, so this is the word readeth in the blue letter in the Greek. It says anaginosko. It says to distinguish between, to recognize, to know accurately, to acknowledge, to read. So you got to know these scriptures accurately. Okay? You see? That's why you got to make sure you're getting your daily reading and you have to pour into yourself. All right? Or you may say, well, I already read the scriptures. I read it from back to finish. It doesn't matter. You still got to go back and read certain things, because when you go back, mass majority of the times, you're going to find out something that you didn't find out before. The Lord is going to make you see the scripture in a particular way. Oh, I didn't see that last time I read it. Oh, that's what it means. You might go back and read it, and then you go into a word that, you didn't go into prior. You're like, oh, shoot, that expounded even more onto me, right? That's the point of, the daily readings, okay? Because, we got to sharpen up, Sometimes you get a little bit rusty, you forget where scriptures are at. You forget how to paraphrase it, because what? You haven't been reading, You got to know these scriptures accurately, man. That's why scriptures say as well, what's that in Timothy? Study to show thyself approved. Let's get that in 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy, the second chapter, and verse 15. It says, "Study to shew thyself approved unto the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." Okay, so we have to study to show ourselves approved unto the Most High, man. And part of that studying is getting your daily reading in, man. Whether it is you sit on your desk and then you bring out the literal book and you start reading, or you might be at the plantation, you're on your break, you pull up your phone and then you read a few chapters, man. We have we have the phone now, right? The little book is now contained on your phone. The little book referring to the scriptures, so it's easily accessible wherever you're at, man. Whether you're driving, you might play the audiobook, right? There's different ways that you could get your daily reading. And of course, it's not the same as when, you sit down on the desk and actually get the book in front of you with your notepad. It's a different spirit. But regardless, let's say if you don't have the time, you could play the audiobook, or while you're at the plantation, you could, go on your phone and read a few chapters, right? There's no excuse. Oh, I didn't have time. I get back home, I'm tired. I don't have time. Nah, man. You could make time. If anything, I'm saying it should be daily, man. Daily, you got to read these scriptures, man. Daily. It should be a daily thing. Because also, when you go in, what's that, 2 Ezra, the 9th chapter, it speaks about us measuring the times, right? And part of you measuring the times is with these scriptures. So let's get this. This is 2 Ezra 9 and verse 1. It says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the science past which I have told thee before, then shall thou understand it is this very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So I get the scripture because it says measure the times, right? And how do we measure the times? It's with these scriptures, with these prophecies, right? We filter the actual news that happens from our day to day through the scriptures. So if you haven't been reading, you haven't been diving into the prophecies, how are you going to know where you're at in prophecy, man? Here it is, major news are taking place, but yet there's no scriptures coming up into your mind to tie it in with the scriptures. Because what? You haven't pouring into yourself. You haven't been reading. You see? This scripture, these scriptures should be in you, man. You know what I'm saying? It should be part of you. And the only way for that to happen is by you are daily tapping in, man. Tapping into your source. Daily drinking from your cistern, like scriptures say. Drink waters out of that own cistern. Which there's different ways that, we pour into ourselves, by watching videos, making videos, but also reading is a major part of it too. That's what our forefathers did, man. They were daily in the, was not Yahushua daily in the temple reading, right? Our forefathers, that's what they were doing. They were reading the scriptures, man, daily. You see, you gotta be like the Church of Berea, man, because the Church of Berea, what did Paul say about them? He said, these are more noble than those of Thessalonica, because, they search the scriptures daily to find out if those things were true or not. We got to come in that same spirit, that same energy, man. You make sure you get your daily reading in. You see? Oh, if the iron be blunt, let's get that. Iron be blunt. There we go. Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 10. It says, if the iron be blunt and he do not wet the edge, then must he put to more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. So it's telling you here, if you have a blunt iron, you have to put more strength to cut whatever that you're cutting, right? But if you sharpen that iron, right, then it's going to be an easier slice for you. You won't have to put that much strength, right? Because the iron has been exercised, it's been properly sharpened to where that whenever it slices, it's efficient. So it's the same way with us by reading and studying, right? That's part of us sharpening our iron, okay? Making sure that whenever the time presents itself where, someone asks us a question, or, a question pulls up, or, a bug pulls up, tries to, do some foolishness to prove, what you're teaching is false. And then you go to scriptures and prove how that he's going off, and then he gets cut, right? But that can only happen if you've been reading and studying and pouring into yourself. Because for you to pour out, it's something you have to pour into yourself too. You see? That's why daily, this has to be your life, man. You know what I'm saying? Watching the videos, reading, studying, that has to be like a daily aspect of your life, man. Regardless if you have, I gotta go to work, I gotta do this and do that. If anything, you have to schedule things around the truth, man. The truth comes first and foremost, right? Everything else is secondary. Okay? That's what I said. If that eye be single, that whole body shall be full of light. Single on what? And the truth, man. You wake up, you're thinking about the truth, man. Okay, what am I gonna make a lesson on? What chapter am I reading today? What videos am I gonna watch? Things of that nature. That should be at the forefront of your mind, man. How to forward the work of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, man. That's how it should be, man. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't, then pray. Pray, man. I know me, man. When I wake up, like, what am I gonna? What lesson am I making? What am I reading today? What lesson am I gonna watch? Which sometimes, before I go to sleep, I might, have a few videos queued up to where when I wake up, I watch them, based upon the title, or, if a brother shared it, or, highly edifying, then I'm like, okay, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm gonna watch this, that, right? Because the truth is in the forefront of my mind. Everything else is secondary, man. That's how it should be, You have to let the breast nourish you, man. The breast of this truth nourish you at all times, right? And now, get caught up too much in the things of the world, man, to where that, hey, you forgot to do your daily tasks for the ministry. Okay? But anyways, like I said, I was going to make this short. All right? I'm going to close it off there. Giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachach Chodesh. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I'm going to say Shalom.